Today, technically anyone could have their own air force with drones, and that's becoming a serious problem to security experts. Last Sunday, 3 drones armed with explosives were used in a failed assassination plot on Iraq's prime minister. Analysts say they resembled drones linked to Iranian-backed militias, which have targeted American troops in a spate of attacks in Iraq. Another flurry of drones descended on U.S. forces last month in Syria, and they're also thought to show Iran's hand.
Iran has been building drones for decades, but in the last few years, it's really realized that drones are an easy machine that you can kind of disassemble, move across borders, teach proxies and terrorist groups how to use them, and basically encourage those groups then to attack Americans or other U.S. allies. And then it's very hard to blame Iran itself, because all Iran can say is, well, yeah, but you found a bunch of pieces of a machine. There's no evidence that we did it.
Seth Frantzman, who wrote Drone Wars, says Iran often uses so-called kamikaze drones for one-way suicide missions. They might even be as large as a person, but little is truly known about Iran's drone program.
We have not seen nearly enough information about the cost or the scale of the program, which means we don't even know how many are being made a year.
For now, they're mostly a threat in the Middle East, but some say weaponized drones are on their way to the United States.
In a country like ours, which is sort of increasingly riven by political division, it will not be surprising if you're going to see people who at least consider, if not use, these cheap and readily available systems to carry out their own domestic violent agendas.
That's the CIA's former chief of counterterrorism, Bernard Hudson. He's now CEO of a drone technology company called Looking Glass. And he says he's most worried about quadcopters, which are hard to detect since they fly low and can weave around buildings. He says large public gatherings and airports are more vulnerable than people think.
Unfortunately, right now, there is no existing easy technology that's been deployed at U.S. airports to stop somebody from maliciously attacking an aircraft at takeoff or landing.
The Federal Aviation Administration says it's receiving more than 100 reports of drone sightings each month. In the energy sector, an intelligence bulletin first obtained by ABC News reported that a drone targeted a Pennsylvania substation last year.
Historically, the protection of the U.S. power network has always focused on ground-based threats. Somebody trying to walk past a perimeter, driving through a fence line. They are not designed to stop threats from above.
The FAA tells Newsy it's crafting a process so certain facilities can apply for airspace restrictions, and energy infrastructure would fall under that provision. But the government is moving slower than the technology advances. The FAA just began testing drone detection systems at a handful of airports this month. The Defense Department started evaluating commercial devices to intercept small drones in urban settings at a demonstration in Arizona this past spring. Drone experts say demand will rise, but the counter-drone industry is just taking off.
Sasha Ingber joins us here on set tonight. Sasha, can we talk about the capabilities of drones? Because a lot of us have seen, I don't know, wedding videos, prom videos. What are they capable of when it comes to something like surveillance, which is more serious?
That is an enormous area of concern. And a former Secret Service agent told me that for years in New York, he has seen private equity firms and hedge funds actually fly drones armed with parabolic microphones over buildings of competitors to listen in on their conversations. Now, that's a commercial use, not quite a wedding ceremony.
Right.
But then there's also what governments do. And we know that the United States has flown drones over the United States to monitor people and events for all kinds of reasons. We know that drones are used overseas by the United States. Of course, the Russians, the Chinese, anyone who can afford to do it is going to do it. But then there's also militias and there's terrorist groups, and the concern that this kind of technology could also fall in their hands, and then chance pair that with facial recognition software, and now you have a totally different conversation here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I'd heard that some drones, they can make them look like a bird or a bug, and so you don't always know that you're looking at a drone. As for normal people, I'm going to call us normal people working on a Friday night late, if we wanted to have that drone, you know, to have it go over our property to show just how beautiful our house is, are we allowed to just buy one and shoot it up in the air?
Well, the FAA lets you buy a drone, and if it's under about 5 pounds, then you can go and have your fun. But if it's above 5 pounds, then you need to go and learn the rules, take a test, and get it registered. But the thing is, that's pretty easy to get around, and it's really hard to enforce. So we run into some problems there. The other issue is that not all cities or places in the United States are created equal. And in Washington, D.C., you know, we have to protect certain people and certain places, not just the president and lawmakers, but all of our federal agencies. And so the airspace is very tightly controlled, and there is a clear radar picture over the city. And they say that this is very much attuned to any drone activity as well.
Golly, nothing to worry about at all. Let me go Google parabolic microphones. Thanks for giving us something to think about.